All right. Theoretically, this time my voice is being captured.
Wait.
You don't need to request to speak. Stop
Give
it.
give
For
me
all of you who don't know, the way to become an EV.
No.
Get down.
Silence. I know what they were gonna say. I'm not gonna let them finish that sentence. If I see you typing in chat, it's over for him.
They were giving away ancient secrets.
They were giving away the secret.
Yeah.
Can't have them spreading state secrets like that. What do you think this is?
That's funny.
There
Ah,
will
fuck
be
my pen.
no needed under the table bribes.
Except for me.
We're gonna have to fight to the death.
I'll fucking do it. These are bribes. In this
Let's
economy,
go,
I need
Dr.
all the
Baby.
bribes. Let's fucking go.
Your hands
Let's
are
go,
fucking
mud
an
woman.
inch
Let's
tall.
go.
Bring it on.
How dare you? The audacity. The gall. Oh lord. Why am I getting pinged? Oh. I'm gonna admin. Do I have permission to admin abuse Snow, please?
No.
Absolutely not.
Permission denied.
What the fuck, guys? I thought you were on my side.
I'm on nobody's side.
Yeah.
Everyone get their water.
Wow.
Nora is just saying your true name, all right?
Okay. You know what? You know what? Look at what Leofrich is saying. Crayon, he's speaking facts. And then we have you guys telling me not to do it. Like, what am I supposed to do here? This is a nothing burger.
Well, you know, you're not one to admin abuse because we don't let you admin abuse.
That's lies. That's actual. Okay, I'm gonna stop before I expose myself of my countless crimes.
War crimes? You could never.
I could never. Can I ban Soleil then? That's fine, right? I can totally admin abuse.
Oh, you know what? True. You were caught in the act with your silly
Fuck
little
up.
game.
No. Get out.
Oh yeah, where's that sticker?
Shut the fuck. This is unfair. This is unfair. Being ganked up on.
It is top of the hour, so I think that means it's time to get this meeting started. If everyone on the team is ready to get started, that is.
Yeah, sure.
Going. Unless we can give like a courtesy 2 more minutes just in case people are trickling in. So let's wait for 2 more seconds and then.
I know there
Great
was less attendees signed up for this time slot. I think some of that has to do with it being a Mother's Day weekend thing. So.
Guys, I hope everyone's having fun. I hope you're happy and excited to be here with us because we're happy and excited to be here with you.
Do we get a special role for being at both of the meetings? Potentially?
Can I make it a homage to Go Touch Grass?
I had not thought that far ahead.
Yeah, special role. We mute ban you for 24 hours. You can go outside.
Oh, no.
Sure is a special role.
Yeah, your special role is go touch grass.
I touched grass in between the meetings. It was nice.
Yeah, I went and I got Starbucks and I shouldn't have, but I did. We love sugar water in this house.
Yeah, all the staff that attended both are also getting that ban. So goodbye, everyone.
It's only fair.
Yeah.
How long
it's
is
only
this ban
fair.
for? Is that a vacation
24.
opportunity?
24-hour.
Dude,
admins are fucking gone after this meeting.
I can No Life Dune Awakening for free?
No. You're supposed to go touch grass. What are you doing?
Wait,
you can't find a loophole.
Listen, don't you know? I just installed a patch of grass under my desk. I'm always touching grass.
You
What
installed
if you get
what?
on like your feet?
If I get what? What?
What if it
Huh?
dies? It's not gonna get any sun. It's under your desk. Do you have a grow lamp down there too?
Yeah.
This guy got a fucking what?
Yeah.
You got a whole grasp operation growing underneath your desk?
Yeah.
All right,
Soleil,
what?
shut. I'm gonna.
Before this conversation continues and chat gets any weirder, let's get started. Okay, friendly reminder to keep kind of like gift spamming to a minimum and stuff like that, just so we don't lose any questions. So hello, welcome to our preseason 1 meeting. We're gonna try and keep this fairly quick as we're really just setting the groundwork for the season. If you were at our meeting this morning, the contents and stuff is going to be identical. So other than the Q&A section, which I'm sure will be different because different people will be asking questions, this meeting will be identical. So if you've already heard it, you don't feel pressured to stick around. Though you can stay if you want. And then you'll have to go touch grass. We will be going over the main story pitch, how factions, humans, and our lore will work for the season. We'll also be going over general updates from our various admin teams. We will take and answer questions at the very end. I'm not sure how long we'll answer questions. We limited it to a half hour this morning, but I think we'll probably go a little longer. But I can't make any promises. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how many questions people have. So we do still have a lot of prep work to do, particularly when it comes to lore, and we're still waiting on a few of our favorite mods to stabilize. But rest assured that we're working as quickly as possible to get season 1 off of the ground and running. So we are going to start with roleplay overview, and I will be covering kind of like your elevator pitch for the faction, for our faction season, and just the lore for the season in general. So, as of right now, this is planned to be a 2-season arc, which means that we will be doing a lore wipe after season 2 before season 3, but seasons 1 and 2 will be continuous lore. Delving into story stuff right from the jump, I want to let you know that we're planning on doing a lighter admin story this time around. We're going to do a lot of pop ups and have some reoccurring NPCs thanks to our dedicated and wonderful coordination team. But the NPCs will not be quite to the scale as last season. We want to make sure that we gave room for factions and their arcs as well as personal stories. The admin story will be a consistent and persistent element of the background and the changing world. Our goal is to make this season feel as alive and interactable as possible. To that end, because the main element of the story is largely solving a mystery, I won't be delving too deeply into our plans so you can have the opportunity to unravel the mystery in character as the season unfolds. But here's your elevator pitch. There is something wrong with the magic. No matter where you are from, no matter who or what you are, you have noticed the magic changing. For the last century, it has been changing for the worse. So much so that you have been forced to leave your homes behind and try to find somewhere new to live. How exactly the magic is wrong will be largely up to you. You could be from a place where the magic is gone. It simply doesn't exist anymore. Maybe the sigil magics are too weak to maintain themselves. Maybe you're a human mage who has lost the ability to cast. We want to make it so that your factions and your characters are feeling the effects of this magical change in any way that you can think of. Be creative. Magic is shifting, dying, growing out of control. It is being weird and fussy, and nobody knows why. What flavor of weird it is in the preseason for your character is up to you. You and your faction have come to the land of Dracula for refuge. Vardarin is a land long abandoned. After Dracula fell, it became a place largely inhospitable between Mortium and the Luminance. Nobody wanted to settle there. But now, you don't have any other choice. Vardarin and Vardarin alone seems to be free of the plight of this shifting magic. It will be up to you to determine the fate of your factions and yourself as you try to carve out a new home on Vardarin soil. While you're there, maybe you'll unravel the mystery of what's wrong with the magic, too. We are requiring right now that folks have a faction that has come most recently from somewhere outside of Vardarin. Of course, your character could have been born in Vardarin, moved to Frankelberg, joined the faction there, and is now moving home in the face of the mystery disaster that those kindred are facing. The factions will be selected from player submissions and player led. We hope to have 3 to 4 unique factions for season 1. I'll be pinging you all with an announcement with some forms in it following sometime after the second meeting. We may have to add some more questions to it, depending on just stuff that came up on the 2 meetings. So I'll get it up this afternoon sometime. That said, please, 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 please don't get too attached to any one idea until we announce our official factions for season 1. It would be amazing if we could use everyone's submissions, but unfortunately, there's 28 people in here right now, and unless only 3 people total submit, faction ideas, we can't use everything. We will be choosing the factions as an admin team, and we may play dolls and merge 2 or 3 ideas into one faction if we need to. We're looking for factions with broad enough pitches to include a ton of like minded players. If your proposed faction is like one family and their bloodline and kind of exclusionary because you don't include anyone else outside of that, it's unlikely that that's the sort of idea that we're going to go for. We're wanting to avoid factions that don't allow for individual creativity within them. We're aiming for broad, inclusive factions while also giving those factions a unique identity so that they all feel different. It is a balancing act, so please be patient while we work through the submissions. We want to have at least 3 solid factions that will draw a lot of equal interest. Faction leaders will likely be whoever pitches the faction, but they don't have to be. If you have a great idea for a faction but don't want to be the in character president of the club, you can submit something and we will find a volunteer for a season of Vampire Email Hell. Because I'm sure that there are people who will want to be in character leader. We're looking to fill different niches with different factions and are hopeful that we can create some really cool places for you to call home. Once we've got the factions decided, we'll work with faction leaders to get their elevator pitches ready for the season at large, or for for the community at large. We'll have more information about faction leadership and how you'll be working with admins to write your faction plot soon. Each faction will be given their own private sigil recruitment channel, an idea thread, and a general channel for their spoiler-ridden chatter that's sort of separated from everyone else. Faction applications will open, like I said, later this afternoon and be open for 2 weeks. They will close on May 24th at 11 p.m. PST. We're only allowing 1 submission per player, so please use your 2 weeks to cook as much as you'd like. That said, I'm going to pass the microphone off to Hart, who is going to talk about our new lore and the human contract.
Hello, hello. So, firstly, I would like to discuss our other submission process that we will be opening up to the community, and that is our lore submissions. This will be our first season that is wholly and entirely Shadows of Barterin, and we felt it would be best to celebrate that by opening up the creation of our lore to the community who makes this all possible, that being you. Now, to help provide some guidelines, for our magic and power levels, we are looking to begin with low to medium magic for the season. This is to both ensure that we have a new avenue of RP to explore after the high magic of Season 0, as well as ensuring that we have room to grow throughout both the season and the arc. Please keep this magic level in mind as you write your submissions, as anything that extends too far beyond the bounds of a low to medium magic level might need to be workshopped or go unused. Additionally, we do have some rules about our submissions process. For one, we are capping the number of submissions at 3 big ideas per person. These submissions can be anything lore related: kingdoms, regions, subspecies of vampires, really anything that could be added to a big lore doc for other people to adopt and use for themselves is welcome. This limit is to ensure that we aren't overwhelmed with suggestions and can work through the submissions sent our way in a timely fashion. If we need more, we'll let you know. Next, I want to highlight that these do need to be wholly original ideas, not utilized as official or common lore in Season 0 or prior seasons within our community. We want to ensure that this feels like the fresh start that it is, and as such, we'll only be using lore that isn't treading the same or similar ground as we've tread before. Another rule surrounding our submissions is the purpose of these submissions is to create lore for the entire community, to ensure that everyone is on the same playing field, even those who do not submit lore or who may join us after the submissions period closes. We will be firm that no characters played by someone submitting lore can be people in positions of power from the locale that they submitted to us. Your characters can be from the area, but they can't be important historical figures, rulers, or otherwise integral pieces of the lore that is created for community use. Finally, we will be requesting that folks submitting lore indicate that they are okay with us using and modifying the lore to ensure cohesion, as well as indicating that they are clearly giving Shadows of Barterin permission to utilize the lore for the purposes of running the game. In some ways, it can be thought of as a lore donation, and once lore is donated, we will be able to make changes, adjust, and use the lore as necessary for the arc and benefit of the community as a whole. For this reason, I would caution people from submitting lore that is incredibly personal to them, that they would not want to see changed in any way. A good way I can explain the process that we're kind of aiming for is that we're inviting everyone to throw some spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. And what we have at the end will be community property through and through. So these submissions will open at the same time as the other submissions that we'll be having for factions, and they will then close on the 24th of May at 11 p.m. PST. So I do want to add a quick clarification that I feel is pretty important from questions that popped up from the first meeting. So players will not be required to be from a region on the eventual world map and are not restricted to only the lore that has been submitted to us. The purpose of the system is to allow everyone to get a hand on the ball should they so choose in the preseason, not to necessarily restrict players to only using what is approved through the lore submissions process. If you don't want to submit your lore because of this or that, that's completely fine. As long as it passes our whitelist guidelines, once those are up and ready, you can still use it. It just won't be on the map or in the Season 1 lore channel, much like player-made content in seasons past. Now, I want to discuss something that we teased very recently, and that is, Season 1 of Shadows of Ardorin, we will be including humans as a playable species. Since we began establishing this community, there was a lot of excitement around the idea of opening up playable characters beyond the default of a vampire. With this season, we will be testing the waters of that by allowing humans and now enabling them to be both fun to play and true to the ideas of being substantially different from vampires with the introduction of a new mechanic, a mortality contract. The mortality contract, and thus playable humans, will be available to members of our community who've had at least 4 to 6 weeks of active play under their belt, as we are still in some ways in the testing phase of this concept. The features of the mortality contract are as follows. Humans will be eligible to receive buffs and sun immunity, no blood drain, that sort of thing that will enable a play experience that is true to being a human. They will have a set blood type and percentage that is detailed in their whitelist, and humans aren't allowed to consume blood and change their blood type or percentage. Humans have 1 life, and if they lose that life, they are obligated to follow our death or undeath guidelines. I know 1 life seems harsh, so let me explain that a bit more before we move on to the death or undeath thing. So, a human character has 1 life. If they are reduced to their bag, they are at risk of losing that life. How they can prevent loss of life after being reduced to their bag is if they receive medical RP before the bag disappears. This medical RP needs to be documented and presented to the team in a ticket so we know that they were saved from losing their life and are able to reapply buffs. However, humans are still fragile, so they are only able to be reduced to their bag and receive medical RP twice without losing their life. So, on the 3rd time they are reduced to their bag, even if they receive medical RP, they will lose their life. That is where our death or undeath procedure comes into play. If a human character loses their life, they have a choice. They can either perma, the death route, or they can become a vampire, the undeath route. Becoming a vampire would be through whatever both makes the most sense and has the consent of all parties involved. So, for example, a character could be turned by the vampire that tore their throat, or by a vampire that was attempting medical RP during your 3rd bag drop, or even in situations where there's no one around in a PvE death, then there is a way we can work with another player where they found you dying and turned you. We can work with that. There is also a final option for becoming a vampire, and that is a risen vampire with no direct sire. If for some reason there's no option that either makes sense for you or has the agreement of other parties, then becoming a risen vampire will allow you to take the undeath route still. Additionally, the specifics of how risen vampires have come to be will be, in some ways, unique and plot relevant. So, although I can't provide additional details just yet, know that it would still be a fun option should you choose to take it. Players will have 3 days to make a final decision on which path they would like to take on the contract to ensure folks are happy with their choice and to allow for emotions to cool after an intense potential character death and allow for out of character communications with potential sires or admins in the case of a risen vampire. An important detail that I do want to highlight is that no matter which path is chosen and how a character is turned, It needs to be with the consent of both parties. A character that blood drains a human is not obligated to be their sire, and vice versa. Although the mortality contract would mean that your character does not need to follow death or undeath, it means you do need to follow either death or undeath. How exactly that happens is always in your hands. We will be releasing more details about the specifics of what is and isn't allowed for human characters and a big fancy list later, but the mortality contract is kind of the big ticket item that I wanted to explain to you today. And with that, I am ready to pass the microphone over to Fenwick.
He's not.
Joke's on you. It's me. Ha!
Penny's not here. It's
Oh.
Dr. Baby's turn.
It's
Oh,
me.
goodness.
Yeah. I'm taking over the coordination part of things.
Oh, goodness.
First
I
things first.
misread.
It's all good. First things first. Probably pretty very clear. We opened EV apps again. Probably you've noticed because there's a bunch of new people and suddenly less than 22 EVs. We opened them up. Everyone who was already in EV removed from it, got to reapply, except for moderators. If you're interested, there's a new ticket sort in the tickets and whitelist channel. Please go ahead, fill it out. It's not that big of a form. Next best thing. Some new rules, well, more guidelines actually for applying to events. So we made this so that the event volunteer role is less stressful and to help with the overall quality of life of both EVs and coordination staff. To make the playground fair, players will have to follow a one admin assisted that comes standard and with a maximum of 2 donated tickets if you want more basically. You're getting a maximum of 3 admin assisted events per your character. That's about it. It's very simple, won't be super crazy. It's just to make sure that we don't have one person with 15 different admin assisted events because their whole group decided to not play anymore and donate all of it. We also changed the process for events in general. We're gonna, well, like I said, maximum of 3 admin assisted events. We're gonna wanna put in a sort of not necessarily strict guideline, but just something we follow as how many minimum of players are going to be involved. If it's an open world event that anyone can interact with, go ham. We're not going to say anything about a player limit or minimum. If it's private, it's going to be something we want to discuss first. Because if it's going to be just you and one other or 2 other people in a castle, we're going to ask if admin assistance is like really necessary or if you can do without. Uh, we're going to do some new, well, ticket requirements itself. We've noticed that a lot of consistent issues last season with events in general were players putting in an event with an NPC that's not really elaborate enough for EVs to know what exactly they're playing. So they could get caught off guard very easily when someone asks them a question they don't actually have an answer to in character while playing said NPC. So we're adding some basic things to the ticket itself, which is going to be how many people do you expect? What's the outcome of the event? Is it fixed or flexible? Basically boils down to just are the event participants going to win or the event NPCs? If it's a combat one puzzle, it's not really said, but you know the gist. What knowledge do the NPCs have? Do we know who your player character is? What do we know about your player character as the NPCs? What do we know about Vardoran? It's that type of stuff. It's going to be a lot of EV specifics as well. Like, what is the demeanor of the NPC we're playing? What do they look like? Their armor? What spells do they use? What weapons? What's the vibe we were going for if we're going to build a plot for you, and summaries of the characters themselves. The event itself is going to have a small tab. It's going to be 500 characters where you summarize the event. This is so that the EVs themselves can check through it really quickly without having to read through a massive ticket where we usually discuss things to understand that the role is not really for them. If it's, for example, a PvP role, but it's only mentioned at the most recent message, the EV is going to have to read through everything to then realize they're not even interested in the first place. That's about it. There's some other stuff that I really would like you guys to discover in character instead of me telling you about this like in a meeting. It's going to be a new type of event and some other new stuff, but I'm not going to say anything because it's more fun exploring it. But it'll be very fun. I'm going to pass the microphone to Frank, who's going to be doing disciplinary.
Hi. Yeah, it's a surprise. It's a change from 5 hours ago. So Well, to start, we need to talk about a quick rule change, which is no more direct one-to-ones from other series. This is things like BTM or mages, or hell, if you wanted to, you could, previously do something like the Dragonborn. No more of that. No more direct one-to-one. Now, you can do like inspiration, but just don't make it a direct thing. I mean, that's just not. Yeah, exactly. The vampire Nerevarine. It's well, frankly, it's hard for other players who have never experienced that type of media to just like they just kind of have to take a lot of these terms at face value and roll with it. Whereas to you, because you know about the lore, you've made a character based around it, it makes sense. To others, it's just kind of gibberish. And as Nell just put it, it is a potential copyright risk as well, which we would like to avoid. Now, beyond that, yeah, I mean that's really it as far as rules go. But we do have other rules that we're going to ask for y'all's opinions about in a feedback form after this meeting. So there'll be a few more things to go over there, but those aren't set in stone yet because we're waiting for community feedback for the rest of that. Now, I would like to bring up something that has been a bit of a concern recently, and that is ticket procedure, I suppose. Um, Now, tickets are sensitive matters, and we're not going to go over them in public. But as a result of that, we're not always going to be able to elaborate on things, and we won't have immediate results. But that doesn't mean we're not actively working on it to ensure that things are done fair and safely. So I just like to ask, whenever there's an ongoing matter that you may or may not know about, just have some consideration for your fellow players and ensure we have ample time to work on it. Because we never want to make any sort of hasty decision that, well, may not have been the right call. Anyway, I just wanted to cover that. It's not really, honestly, a whole lot to cover for disciplinary changes at the moment. We'll have more later, of course, following additional rule changes. But for now, I'd say that's just about it. So, Tony, if you want to finish out the player support section, which everyone is all excited about, I'd be happy to pass it on over to you.
Sure. And one thing that I forgot to mention in the earlier meeting, we'll mention here towards the end. So whitelist will go up after we have finalized our factions, our lore. Everyone will know about it, and then the whitelist process will come out. Again, the faction process is looking to last about 2 weeks, and then we'll have whitelist open, and that'll be as everyone's experienced before. Just like where the event applications or the event volunteer applications are, there will be a second button for whitelist, and we'll ping and let everyone know when those are open. We are having a lore wipe, which means no connections to previous characters, no connections to past seasons. We want to make this as separate as a space and entirely our own where possible. That sometimes that includes not using the same clan name, sometimes that includes not having the same character. This needs to be a wholly separate lore environment world from anywhere else, and we really want to hammer that in by separating it as much as possible. That being said, I know some folks have been enjoying the new expansion on the OOC server or helping us test mods. Thank y'all for those who have helped hop on. I hope y'all have been having fun. Both servers will be up at least until the 28th. And so from there, we have two big things. First would be the opening date reveal that we're heading for. We are aiming to open on the weekend of June 14th. So I think that's a Friday, might be a Saturday. We're looking to open on that weekend, so hopefully as many of y'all can be there as possible. Weekends tend to be our highest population availability for everyone involved, which means start thinking of what you want to do. And then the second thing that I forgot in the earlier meeting was we are also going to be having a art contest to redo our server icon. The previous one was done by another community member, but we've decided it's probably time. There will be a prize pool for it. There will be a long period of voting, and we'll try and get something. This will be for the Discord icon, as there is already something being worked on for the banner. But that is something we also wanted to announce here, and I forgot at the earlier meeting, which is on me.
We'll also be using this icon for our social media profiles because we do also now have like an Instagram and a YouTube and a TikTok to like post stuff to hopefully get some new blood in here. So we'll also be using this icon for those profiles. So it'll be all over.
Yeah. So, forgot that in the first meeting, because brain. But, I think... I mean, I'm never going to turn down free advertisements, I'll be honest. But I think with that, it is time for the Q&A section. So if you...
We are asking that people very kindly, if you get called up onto stage, just ask one question, maybe two, and then go back down. So we're not just talking to one person for 10 minutes. We've got time to hear from everybody just because we're not sure how long we're going to go. So yeah, please prioritize your questions in terms of importance.
All right. I believe we have our first speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and pull them up, Dash. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome, welcome.
I
Hello.
think you all know what I'm going to say and ask about.
Maybe.
What is the possibility of not being part of a faction in any capacity? Because I have 16 people that are kind of into what we're doing, but we definitely don't want to be a faction because we're kind of strict on the ruling of what requires you to join us.
Mhm.
So that puts us in a predicament where we are slightly now kneecapped because we have to join people that are not necessarily part of a story that, like, what Hart had basically said, like the magic, or Naku did too. They talked about the story and like the pitch where the magic is leaving. We were already able to like pivot and like come with ideas with that, and like, oh, it actually helps our story that that's happening. But the faction thing is very difficult. From a personal perspective, I told myself I didn't want to do a faction again. I didn't want to be under any leader's thumb. I wanted to do my own thing for once because I haven't had the chance to do that in the year that I've been RPing. So is there a possibility that we can discuss or find solutions to
So
this
whether
problem?
or not you want to be, because in season 6, people were forced to be at a faction for the start of the season. Right now, the
Mhm.
tentative plan is that everyone has to join up for the first 2 weeks. And then if you'd like your character to descend, or if you'd like to be a free agent, you can join at that time. But if we have a ton of people that are wanting to do something else, put that feedback in the submission form. Because if a ton of people don't want to start in a faction, if it's like half of the server that doesn't want to be faction locked, then we'll take that into consideration.
Yeah, I'm just nervous because there's 16 of us.
Oh, it's a very valid concern.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously there was a little bit of scrambling in my server where it's like, well, what do we do now? We're gonna be trapped in a faction. It's like, I don't know. I have to discuss with the team.
Yeah, so what I would say is to a couple options is if there is a because if there are a lot of people that are already willing to group up together, uh, you can potentially brainstorm if there's a way to pitch the idea as something that follows some of our faction guidelines and uh, just kind of throw that out there, throw that in the hat, and see if that is a way that you're like interested in pivoting at all. Another option is to basically just submit your thoughts, concerns into the feedback form. We're going to be taking feedback there because right now, a lot of what we're talking about is what we've been cooking up
Yeah,
and
and I
ideas
don't.
we think are really cool.
Yeah, and I don't
And
necessarily think that like factions are a bad idea. It's just I'm not prepared for that.
mhm, yeah, and so it's just something that like we ask people to consider, take some time, think about, enter in thoughts and feelings into the feedback form, and we will kind of get back to you on kind of the specifics there.
Yeah. Okay, you can toss me down.
Thank you for coming up. I
Away
think
with
it was a
the
good question there. All right. Let's
up.
see. Do we have another one to pull up, or do we have some text questions that we want to get to? Like just
Nicholas
address everyone's.
Masterson asked, what about a mortal faction? That is part of the reason why the feedback form is so important, because if a solid third of our player base wants to come in as humans, there'll probably end up being like a human faction. So if you are set on playing a human, please, please, please reply to the forum, because we want to know how many people want to be humans, so we can plan for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to speak for William, but as our two dedicated human simps on the admin team, it's probably going to be either one of us. We'll heavily push for it. We're trying to anyhow.
I'm excited to see how many people are interested in the new mechanics. We'll have something posted full, but you know.
All right, we have another request to come up. If you want to get them in there, Dash. Thank you. Hello.
Hey. How's it going?
Hello.
So I have two
Hey.
things I want to touch on briefly. First off, for the human shenanigans, right? How do you envision the gameplay loop for humans being? I kind of got a half answer to this already based on something someone asked in the chat channel, that there will likely not be a buff to make it to where humans, don't attack you because you are a human. So there will be a story reason behind that. Are you envisioning human characters to essentially be able to play the video game like, other people essentially, and progress through and kill V-Bloods, et cetera? Or is there going to be changes to that? Or is that more information later kind of a thing?
So one of the
So
problem. Oh, sure, go ahead, William.
sorry. So when it comes to the idea of having it so humans cannot be attacked by other humans, that's just something currently within the code and within the buffs we can do. Not necessarily possible in a way that doesn't kneecap a lot of interactions with other aspects of PvE or even PvP. So uh, that's why we can't exactly do that. It's kind of a limitation. So with that in mind, there is going to be a story reason, and you will be able to play the game as normal, progress through the game, like absorb power from V Bloods. And there's going to be a story reason why humans are going to be able to do that. So
Gotcha.
that's going to be information released at the same time as like the full contract and like all the specifics about the buffs. Just right now, we wanted to put out the base idea to everyone.
Beautiful. And then the second thing, less of a question, more of a request. For those of us that have never played in a low magic RP setting before, in my case, the last time I played in last season was the first time I've ever RP'd in a video game to begin with. I do not have a lot of experience in low magic settings. Is there a possibility we could get some documented examples of things that would be possible and things that are not possible to make that more clear?
So the best way to think about low magic is for the most part, you cannot do anything that your character cannot already do in the context of V Rising. So like if it's not a spell that your character can cast, or like within the same power scale as a spell your character can cast, you probably won't be able to do it. Obviously, you can circumvent that a little bit with ritual RP, but low magic it's low magic. There's not going to be any realm walking. There's not going to be any realm ripping. We won't be building nukes or cannons or anything like that. We want to give people the ability to grow into season 2, so it's really important to us that we start from bare bones.
Gotcha. And then you mentioned that ritual RP might allow a little bit of the theater of mind stuff, as long as I assume the results of said ritual stay very low magic and akin to the world setting.
Correct. It's the sort of thing where you are going to be needing to, like, it's going to be like equivalent exchange. So if you're doing a ritual, you're going to need to like drop gems or kill a thrall, like that sort of thing, to make it so that there's like sacrifice to do the magic. Characters shouldn't just be able to like hand wave cure illnesses, sort of thing. You need to
Gotcha.
put the time and the ritual in, just to make sure that there's weight to those, because magic is scarce. It's not working well. We don't want you guys to just be able to hand wave stuff. So
Beautiful.
yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Are there any text questions? Otherwise, I will pull the next one up.
We had a couple no balding rays that I'm aware of. I think we were looking at a 3-month season at the current time. Someone can correct me if
Yeah,
I'm wrong.
that's the answer that we gave last meeting as well. I believe 3 is correct. Yeah.
Yes, ideas, suggestions, and workshops will be open soon, as well as the ticketing system, so people can start brainstorming their ideas. I think that was all the tech stuff that I saw. So if you wanted to pull up the next speaker.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, please. We would definitely love another workshop. Yeah, next speaker. Speaking of.
Hello. I'm sick again, by the way. So, hello.
Sound like
now,
Thanos. Damn, bro.
I appreciate you
Oh,
being
yes.
able to make it, even if you're sick.
Well, of course, of course. Now, question: humans are a thing. Very cool. Love it. Love mortals. Actually, saw that when. Fuck yes. What about things like other mortals, such as I've seen a lot of intrigue about silly elf stuff. So, like elves, for instance. Or are we just looking at humans only?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So, at this exact time, we're leaning a little bit towards just humans, but that is still something that we're open to having feedback about. The mortality contract was designed to allow for, you know, basically anything that is classified as immortal to follow it. And although right now, for lore reasons, we're leaning towards just humans, uh, you know, this is a very collaborative process that we're going through right now. So, um, if we hear from folks that there's a huge demand for elf nonsense, then we will definitely at least consider it.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Yeah. Um, good. That basically answers my question. Thank you.
Get to feeling
Is
better.
there?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, feel better. If there's still a group, I don't know how many people were in like the elf faction, but like if there's still a
Does
shit ton of people that want to do that, let us know so we can maybe work with you to make something.
If you want me to explain on that, they never were supposed to be actual elves. They were just forest vampires. It just got memed into hell.
Look, I'm just saying, there is a shrouded boost that we can do, but
Shush, shush.
Thank you for speaking, even though
Seems
you're not
like
feeling
the
well.
admins might be cooking. Anyway, that was my question.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna pop off. But thank you.
thank you.
Mhm.
Now,
Next one coming up.
thank you. I was just about to ask.
Hello, is my mic
It
working?
is.
Loud and clear.
Nice. I got a question about the music rules and how they're changing into season 1. Because I remember last season, going from season 8 to season 0, they were very vague to the point where during certain scenes, some people didn't know if they could do what they wanted to do, so they just ended up not doing it. I'm trying to remember a specific example, but I can't. Are those rules changing at all this season?
You'll have to elaborate a little bit because
Okay. Like the playing music rules
in or out of character, like the
in game.
I'm assuming
Like
in
NRP.
character, like you.
In character, yeah.
Yeah, like
like playing
Fleur with
music
the
through
piano, for
your
example.
mic, or like blur with the
Mhm.
piano. Uh,
Yeah, like that.
the current rule has been, as long as it is appropriate for, and I know this term sucks, the time period because of how vague it is, but unless someone disagrees, like nothing too electric on the instrument scales, and you realistically wouldn't be playing a full band of music solo through yourself.
Mhm.
I think Vler had great success with his piano last season. I don't see why that would be the only person allowed to do something like that. If that's what you're looking for, I don't have a
Yeah, that was the question.
yeah, as long as the instrument isn't, quite frankly, completely electric and is close to time period appropriate, I think that's fine. We can discuss it more, but I think that's within the current rules as they are. Um,
Yeah, just
hadn't
as with
discussed it.
everything, make sure you're being cognizant of others' immersion and the seriousness of the scene. So if you're at like a ball that's really serious because somebody's gonna get assassinated, don't start like playing Wonderwall. You know.
Play Wonderwall during an assassination. Got it.
Yeah, or just please don't be the one that does techno. I will cry.
I'll cry with you.
Thank you.
So like I said, I know V Rising's time period is very vague, but try to keep it in mind when you're thinking musically.
All right, yeah, that's it.
Well, thanks.
You can banish me back down.
Appreciate you coming up.
Have we missed any chat questions? Yes.
I can't find any.
Yes, what Apple said, like avoid frankly modern references if you're going to be doing that sort of music RP. It is a realm disconnected from our own. There should be little to no real world references.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody whose question might have gotten asked earlier and we didn't clarify on, anyone who has a pressing question. Oh, here we go.
I don't personally see an issue with that, Vlur. And just for the recording's sake, Tony, is the text chat being?
It is.
Brought
The
in
text
there?
chat is
Okay.
being captured.
All right. Just
but I'll read over
yeah.
just in case if people are just listening while they play the game or podcast or whatever. V Rising's voice activity is funky when it comes to playing music through it because they have a 10-second timer on most microphone density. So is there the possibility we could allow people to sit in a Discord channel muted to let the player playing the music to the channel into Discord voice so that doesn't mess with in-game comms? We saw some pretty decent success with letting folks stay in Discord and not meta and not ruin RP. And I think we can extend that to this unless someone immediately disagrees.
No, I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a good medium to do it.
I think it's fine. Yeah.
It just, I don't know if there's a way to warn people before they join the channel, because we obviously will have a channel for in-game voice, meaning that if you're in that channel, you're in the game, and people shouldn't be talking out of character in it. But
perhaps we could, because we can change the status on the VC.
We can, but I don't know if
It's
it's set up for
something-
them. We will have to figure out a system that works, but this is a good idea.
Yeah, it's something we'll have to cook on, but thank you for bringing it up as an idea.
Yeah, I think maybe just a music channel would probably have to be the music in game, something like that.
So to answer Ev's question on whether or not there's going to be like real world stuff, if this is like real world Earth, we are not no real world countries just because we want to avoid like the pitfalls of real world politics and religion. That hasn't changed. So if you want to be like an Italian vampire, you can make up something that's like an Italy equivalent, like people did in previous seasons with like Francia. If you still want to be a French vampire, you can call yourself. You can say you're from Frankelberg. Legally distinct Italy, correct?
Hey, don't you talk on my home place. Italia is the legally name for it. I want to hear this shit.
Listen, I will accept anything except being French. Thank you.
Wow.
True. Anyways, back to answering questions. He's bringing up something pretty fair. He asked earlier, are we throwing all royalty-free stuff and classical riffs in the bin?
No, you guys are more than welcome to pull on mythology, on stuff like that, because it's not like, you're not insulting like, like real world religion and shit like that. Yeah, anything that's classic, you're like all of the classics you're allowed to reference. You can reference Frankenstein if you want to. Like, it's the modern stuff that we don't want people referencing. Just because, like everyone is everyone's going to be like aware of stuff that, we were all like grew up learning about in like high school and stuff. So that's fine. I don't have any problem with like Mythos and like the classics. I don't think anyone on the team does either. Speak up if you do. I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah, no, I'm fine
Yeah,
with it.
I would say the one thing is since we are not doing like real world places, it would be from a like equivalent to wherever the original classic is from, for example.
I'd like to once the hound stop.
Like it wouldn't be from Egypt if you're doing like Egyptian gods. It would be from legally distinct Egypt.
All right, so I'd like to draw folks' attention to Seraphis' question about restructuring rules on PvP for the open world. A lot of PvP, well, there are a few questions on the feedback forum that's going to be available very soon that are related to PvP. If you're curious about any tweaks and changes on there that might be coming, please open that up and just vote.
Yeah, so I've set up the form. I know y'all can't see it yet, but just as a heads up, so you know ahead of time, most of the questions on the form are not just click one answer and move on. It's click an answer, and there is a spot to leave additional thoughts. So you can select your answer and leave thoughts. Please do so if you have additional thoughts.
And I'd love to read your additional thoughts. I'm that psychopath that reads every page of backstory, and I do the same thing with your feedback.
All right. Have we missed any questions? Is there anyone on stage waiting to come up? Don't see anyone.
Anyone has any additional questions that they've been holding?
He said, if some of your questions are specifically brainstorm me in nature, the tickets will be opening after this meeting, so you will be able to open tickets as needed. I would ask that you be forgiving on response times, as it's been fairly busy for the team in general. The past 2 weeks really, as we've been just going full steam to try and start putting things together for y'all. So
Lots of cooking.
just be patient with us. We still have a lot more to do, so we will do our best to get to you in timely fashion. Also, yes, it is Mother's Day weekend. For those of you with good relations with your family, go spend some time with them.
All right.
Alira asked about Fae-inspired humans. As of right now, the only humans we're allowing are pretty like basic, genetically, you're a human who has magic.
It is something that, if you want to submit lore or you want to like add feedback, it's something we can consider. But as of right now, it's just kind of a fairly standard human.
And a lot of this is testing for us, to see if humans can participate. Um,
Mhm.
and then assuming it goes well, there is opportunity for it to be extended to other things potentially.
Mhm. So, uh, any last questions or any other uh things that everyone wants
Isira
to go?
asked how being a human would work in a vampire run faction, and that really depends on the faction. Because if we have a faction that's like kindred and vampires that are just running away from their home because we have just like a shit ton of humans, you know, that's fine. They're all working together. If it's a very anti-human faction, you might be there as a thrall if you want, or maybe that faction may not have any humans in it, depending on the numbers of humans. So we can't really answer that question yet because we don't know how many players are going to be humans. We don't know what our factions are going to look like. Yeah, so we'll let you know. Yeah, it could be Sanguine Covenant 2.0. We don't know yet. We need to know what the factions are before we can answer that, unfortunately.
So Nicholas, you're asking about crime and criminal organizations. yeah, as Tony said, there should be a bit of that on the feedback forum that will help engage in that. But also, as far as like specifically like crime related things, do you think it'd be easier for you to like, voice your thoughts rather than write it out, or do you prefer to write it?
Apple's had a question. Does this mean a faction has to approve a character who joins to be a part of them? No. So you would, if it were gonna function, if we're assuming that we, everyone has to join a faction, you would just say which faction you want to join on your whitelist, and then we would give you the role when you're accepted, so you can see the faction specific channels. But that's not something that we will be allowing faction leaders to like veto. They can't tell someone that they can't join their faction. So as you create your ideas, that's something that's important. You can be like, gently workshop with people to be like, hey, like maybe, we could go in this direction instead so it fits the faction a little more, but you can't tell other players no. They still have creative control of their own characters and their own story, even if they are within your faction.
Anything else? If not, I do have a final thing I'd like to say, but I see several people are typing, so thank you. All right. So, since we're not seeing any other questions pop up and we don't have any requests to speak, the last thing that I would like to just uh, end this meeting on is just a reminder of the feedback form. You are going to be asking a number of rules related questions. So even if you don't necessarily have any feedback, if you're hearing all this is like, all right, no notes, I'm down for whatever, do still check out that feedback form and fill it out, because there are going to be questions related to like some potential lore changes to just get the vibe. I mean, not lore changes, rule changes to get the vibe of what people are interested in terms of that. So even if you don't have notes, please do fill it out still so that we can get a good polling base for everyone. And if you do have notes, that's the best dedicated place to put them.
So Bonk, sorry, there's one more question that popped up. For lore submissions, can it be anything, even if we know this can't be implemented currently? The lore magic rules are mostly for characters. So if you want to submit like a realm that exists outside of like the current, like the plane of existence, if you want to submit something to be like an equivalent of the Void or the Feywilds from last season, you are more than welcome to submit that. We're taking lore things for everything, to be clear. So everyone can submit up to 3 things, but it can be anything. It can be a kingdom. It can be, what was the example somebody gave earlier? Like the reason why, like if you want to submit lore for Dracula and like why Mordium is the way it is, like go for it. If you want to submit kingdoms, if you want to submit realms, if you want to submit like magic systems, what have you, yeah, you can submit any 3 things. So because we want to really pool, everybody's creative ideas and like really make something that everyone feels like they were a part of. And if, people only submit kingdoms, we're going to have to be much, we're a little bit more limited on what ends up, how many people end up contributing, because if everyone submits kingdoms, it'll be harder for us to choose because we'll only have kingdoms to pick from. So, submit other things. Submit like an idea for like a cursed ocean that's somewhere out there that maybe has some islands on it. Like just, submit everything. We're going to look at it all.
We're throwing spaghetti at the wall.
We love mom spaghetti. Not the first time I've tried to make that joke today, surprisingly.
Okay. So are we good to close out?
I suppose.
All right. So any further questions, feel free to either put them in the feedback form or create a ticket, just depending on the nature of the concern or question. And thank you all for being here. appreciate all of you, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Drink some water, guys.
Yes, hydrate. Hydration's important.
You're not my mom. You can't make me do anything.
Well, I could be. You don't know that.
God.
Happy Mother's Day.
Wait, it's Mother's Day. Fuck.
For you, it
Mm.
is. Yeah. Go call. Go call. Get on the phone right now. I'm watching you.
No, I'm not gonna call. I will write a letter or something. I don't know.
You should go pay them a visit.
Email.
Aha! Rejoice! Feedback forum. Go. Get out of here. Start filling out feedback. Shoo.
Give us
Be
all the
gone.
feedback.
Be gone. Go do feedback. Do feedback stuff. It's cool. Get out of here.
Bye.
Shoo.